Let's take a closer look at some code examples that'll help us understand how nesting works with controllers and how dots can help us out. So if you open up the course's code for Module 6, you're going to see a code folder, and inside there, just drag that from Finder or Windows Explorer over to your favorite text editor. I'm going to use Sublime, but you can use Notepad if you like. And I'm going to open up the scope01 file here. Let's take a look at what he's doing. So inside here, we have a scope that's going to show us a customer and a shell. So here on line 4, we've got the controller for shell, and that's going to be the controller for everything from line 4 all the way down to line 15. Then inside of the shell, we've got a title model on line 6. And then on line 7, we have a nested controller for customer, which also has a title property. Now don't worry, this is perfectly legal. We can have a title property on multiple controllers, no big deal. But looking at it, it may not be totally obvious which one's going to be used. So down at 11 and 12, we're going to help clarify this a little. Line 11, we can see the title for what looks to be the customer's title. And on line 12, we see the parent title, which should go up a level from customer to the shell, and then show its title. And at the bottom of this page, and I don't recommend doing this normally, but for a little demo we can do this by embedding the JavaScript in the same page. We can see we've got a controller down here for shell and one for customer. Notice we didn't define the title for the customer, we only did it for the shell. That's okay, we can define properties in the view as we go. That's what we did up top. So up top here, we can see we've got a title on line 9 for the customer, but down here in the bottom, we didn't define it yet. That's all right, it'll define it on the fly for us. So what's going to happen when we run this? Let's take a look. If I open up this in the browser, we can see an example here where we see shell title, shell title, shell title. Whoa, what's going on here? I didn't set that customer's title to shell title. So how did that happen? Well, it's actually inheriting that title for it because it's getting a little bit confused, and that's one of the problems we can run into. So let's try to clarify this a bit more. If I change shell title to something like, let's say, John, notice everything's changing as I type that. Well, let's go down to the customer scope. As soon as I start defining a title for the inner nested scope, watch what happens. I'm going to call this one Papa. Notice that the title there got changed to Papa, and so did the title here. And that matches up with what's on line 11 over in the HTML. So now my customer has its own title set to Papa, and then the shell has a title set to John. Let's go back and change the shell's title now from John to Colleen. Notice now they're in sync, kind of how you'd expect them to be. So not only was it a little difficult to tell which controller each title belonged to just by looking at the code, we had some maybe surprising behavior by seeing how the titles were bound to those scopes. So let's take a look at how we might be able to combat that.